Hey guys, it's Jess again, and welcome to another tournament vlog, or locals vlog this time. Finally, with Mitsurugi Plant, probably my favorite deck of the year 2025. So I haven't been that actively playing the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG, but the most recent ban list, banning cards like Fossil Diner, Dimensional Barrier, and just generally a lot of floodgates, has actually given me quite a lot of hope for the game. And what does that mean for me? I mean, I never played any of those floodgates, but Cactus Bouncer is just better Fossil Diner. So let's go destroy some people's days. If I haven't been playing much Yu-Gi-Oh!, where have I been? You may have seen with some of my other content that I've been playing a lot of the Pokemon TCG recently, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. But it is nice to still play Yu-Gi-Oh! There's still so much I love about Yu-Gi-Oh! In the deck building, and it's one of the reasons I've cared about the Mitsurugi Plant deck so much. Because what I love about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is innovating deck lists, being creative with your deck building, because you have 10,000 plus cards that are legal to play, which is vastly different from games like Pokemon. And we're sitting on the floor because I like the floor. But what was I saying? Just like Yu-Gi-Oh! Has 10,000 plus different cards in their card pool, which makes the game quite unique, Pokemon also has some unique factors, at least compared to Yu-Gi-Oh! One thing that I've been really enjoying about it is the statistical side of the game. With Yu-Gi-Oh! I do use statistics to make my deck, to try and get the optimal odds of opening combo or opening combo with protection, how many board breakers I want to open, etc. Whereas in Pokemon, while you're playing the game, you are constantly trying to get the best odds of seeing the card you need in the grind game. A play you make 5 turns in advance could greatly impact the odds of you seeing that one card you need 5 turns later, and it's a completely different skill set, which I find really, really cool. I've always been a little bit obsessed with statistics in card games, and I'm just kind of feeding that part of my passion right now. Long term, I could definitely see that statistical angle impacting the way that I see Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck building, especially if I go into a very grindy Yu-Gi-Oh! Format, such as Genesis is potentially looking to be. For now, I enjoy both games for their own unique thing. But I want to show you guys one more thing before we head out. So the last thing I wanted to mention is I'm going to be trying out a new playmat in this video. No, this is not sponsored or anything like that. I just have acrylics for the first time in about 2 years. And if you've never played Yu-Gi-Oh! With acrylic nails, which are quite thick and chunky, you probably don't know that it is next to impossible to pick up cardboard off of your regular rubber mats. So I always use cloth mats. And historically, I've always used this mat that was designed for me by Manamoon. But I want to switch it up a little bit because I'm not really an anime person, especially if people don't have the context of Plant. Strenna as an image doesn't really encapsulate me very well. So I picked up one of the new Spellgrounds that happens to perfectly match my nails, because I wanted something a little bit more plain. I also think it'll be a little bit cleaner on camera. That being said, I do need to head off to locals, so I'm gonna see you guys during round 1. Huge thank you to Ravenshall Games for allowing me to record their locals today. And we are off with round number 1. Now, I am going to preface, this game does go to a game 3, and unfortunately, I recorded the match in 4K high definition, so my device overheated and then ran out of storage. So we only have games 1 and game 2 of this match, unfortunately. To start off game 1, I start with Summon Loci off Primate Roar and go into Jasmine combo. I banish Sagi from my hand, Special Summon Beetle from my hand, and I get Nibiru here. Now, I still have Bloom to follow up into Beetle, but it gets met by a Ghost Bell. And I just have to go Special Summon Princess and then go via Melius into a Bengal Lancer line and pass turn to my opponent there. My opponent goes End Phase Baldrake, something that will come up in a few minutes. and then starts by using Regenesis to add a Regenesis monster. From here that we then see a Draco Tail Keto come down, so we are playing a Bestial, Hand Trap, Draco Tail Regenesis pile. However, I have a set copy of Gravedigger's Trap Hole to interrupt the Graveyard Draco Tail effect and stop the fusion from being chained. At the end of my opponent's main phase, I use Bengalancer to bounce their fusion back to their hand so that there's no Draco Tail nonsense during my turn, and my opponent passes turn. Now, here is where I make my crucial error. I activate Skeletal Soldier to bounce Bengalancer in main phase 1. This then means my opponent could use Baldrake to banish my Skeletal Soldier, because I didn't realize it includes when links are summoned from grave. This then means I don't get my Beetle into my Lone Fire, so I end up losing the game. However, if I had have attacked with the Bengalancer over the Baldrake first, maybe it would have been a different story. Now we go into game number 2, and I choose to go first. I start off with normal summon Loci, which means we're not going to see a Cactus Bouncer on this end board, and I start full comboing. We do use Sunseed Twin in this combo because I sided it in after game 1, and my opponent doesn't appear to have a hand trap, unless they are once again holding a Nibiru. But I end up going through my plant engine to search my Mitsurugi engine. I use Princess to make a Strenna to give me protection from a held copy of Nibiru. I end up going into my rituals. I'm going to end on a Futsu. I'm going to be searching Purification. I have Bengalancer. I have Dance Peon to manipulate the level of Habakiri so that I can end on Rafflesia with my trap holes in post side. And my end board is formidable. I choose to Reborn back my Bengalancer, set my Mitsurugi Prayers and my Purification, along with another mystery card, and pass turn. From here, my opponent chooses to concede without revealing a single card. During game 3 of this match, we have a little bit of a back and forth for a couple of turns, but I do open Thrust, Lightning Storm, and access to all of my engines. What ends up happening is we go into a very tight grind game, but I'm able to press back from Murakumo, negating my opponent's very last card, and I win by going press combo at the very end of the game. And that was round 1. We played against a bit of a pile deck. It was Draco Tail, Regenesis, Bestial, 60 cards, and we ended up taking it 2-1. I accidentally recorded the footage in 4K, so we didn't quite get to game 3 without my phone running out of storage space, but I made a big misplay game 1. I didn't realize that Baldrake also banished Link monsters when you summon them from grave, and that cost me the game. I should have just gone Bengalancer attack over Baldrake, but we ended up taking game 2 with a full end board and my opponent just conceded. And then game 3, the game that didn't get recorded, ended up going into a really kind of difficult grind game, and luckily I was able to bring back Murakumo and use that negate to negate my opponent's last follow-up card, and then we won from there. I actually found the Ragnarikers amazing in that game 3 because they provided a really good grind game and an easy way to get kills. That being said, that was round 1. Let's go over to round 2. And we are off with round number 2, and we are once again going first. I start off with Habakiri. Now, this game I didn't actually open access to Plant Engine. And in this deck, at least in the main deck, you can bridge from Plant into Mitsurugi, but it's a lot more difficult to bridge from Mitsurugi into Plant. However, I kind of got the vibe that my opponent didn't have any hand traps at the point that I had 5 monster cards on my board. So I just went, screw it. I am going to link down XYZ down my board to go into 2 plant monsters and swarm. Because I had access to Mitsurugi Prayers and a lot of Mitsurugi follow-up in my hand. So even if I link down my board and it fails to a hand trap, I have already got a properly summoned Futsu and Murakumo in my grave. And this time it worked out. I was able to end on Bengalancer and Cactus Bouncer that couldn't be destroyed by battle, on top of Mitsurugi Prayers and all of my Mitsurugi engine setup. My opponent starts their turn, goes for some draws, but can't do anything under the Cactus Bouncer, just normal summoning a monster and passing turn. I then immediately draw, use my Harpy's Feather Duster, destroy my opponent's back row, tribute summon for a Talismandra so that I'm able to use the effect of Jasmine, and I do some link plays, make Chain Coils, re-reborn back my Ragnarikers, and attack for game. Going into game number 2, I am going second. In my deck, I am playing some copies of Droll and Lockbird inside, on top of Ash Blossoms in main deck, but I don't see any of them. My opponent goes for a card that I have never read before, but it gives me the chance to essentially draw another card alongside my opponent, so we always take the additional cards. From here, we see a Case of K9 going into pretty much complete pure K9 combo. Now, my opponent is on a K9 Obelisk deck, which uses a lot of special summon starters and has the potential to tribute summon an Obelisk if they feel like. Honestly, I thought the idea of the deck was quite fun, and we can see a pretty formidable K9 endboard, which gets immediately met by a Dark Ruler no more. I then go pre-preparation of rights, adding Mirror Murakumo, suggesting I might already have a Mitsurugi card in hand. Then I think a little bit and go for Primite Roar. Now, I am quite careful here of the Werewolf, specifically because I have Ritual plus Murakumo in my hand, and I don't want my opponent to hit either of them. But they choose to hit the Talents, because Talents could just take or beat draw after they use the Werewolf. From here, I am able to summon Murakumo, I am able to nuke my opponent's board, go for my Rika Princess, and continue with my Plank combo. I kind of paused halfway through the Plank combo to do Mitsurugi combo, but this deck is incredibly flexible when it comes to that, so I'm not mad. My opponent uses Lupus to attempt to summon a Typhon during my turn, which I think is quite funny. However, I'm able to shut that down with the Rika Princess in my graveyard, and I go for attack for no damage due to Dark Ruler, make a Bengalancer, I have Hyperiton, I have Futsu, I have pretty much everything here, and my opponent concedes the game. Round number 2, and we got paired down against an Obelisk K9 deck, which was kind of cool. My opponent couldn't really do much game 1. I just went full Mitsurugi combo into full Plank combo, ended on a Cactus Bouncer, and my opponent couldn't really play anything. And then game number 2, we went second, but we had a Dark Ruler, which cleared up almost the entire board. My opponent hand-ripped Talents with Werewolf, and I still had Mitsu Ritual live, so I ended up taking the game 2-0. Honestly, quite a quick round number 2. Opponent was really nice, it was quite fun. On to round 3. Third and final round of the tournament, and we are against Memento. This time, losing the dice roll, so my Memento opponent gets to go first. Unfortunately, because of the round 1 issue with my storage, game 3 once again doesn't record, which is really unfortunate, but thankfully it's quite a short game 3, and I think most of the important gameplay can be seen in game 1 and game 2. So during this game 1, we are seeing my opponent go for pretty much full Memento combo. I do have an Ash Blossom, which I attempted to use on my opponent's Tatsunoko, but it didn't do anything because my opponent opened Bone Party. So we are seeing Herald, we are seeing SP, we are seeing Horn Dragon, we are seeing Prosperity. Prosperity is adding a copy of Droll and Lockbird. We are seeing Combined Creation come out. Everything. I start with Prez tributing Habakiri, which gets met with Herald of Mirage Light. Habakiri search Mitsu Ritual. I then proceed to use a Dark Ruler, but Dark Ruler isn't actually that amazing against Memento. Here I go for Ritual, nuke my opponent's board, and now a lot of cards are gonna start triggering. We see Field Spell, re-reborning Horn Dragon. I go for my second effective Ritual from deck to grab Futsu. Futsu is an amazing card into Memento as a board breaker because it can help reborn your little guys that stop them from destroying your cards. Plus, Memento summons a lot during your turn, so it gives you a ton of free extenders. We even see here that my opponent actually doesn't end up using draw, because I don't really go for any major searches, and they end up discarding draw off of my Murakumo. So what do we see my opponent go for here? We have a Darkblade, we have a Gatic, we still have a set Fusion. I go for Rafflesia. Rafflesia doesn't actually do much here, especially into a Guardian Chimera, because I do not have Trap Tricks, Track Hole Nightmare sided in. The Guardian Chimera comes down, attempting to pop 2. I don't have a plant engine to keep my combo going, so I concede game 1, and choose to go first game 2. Now, this game doesn't go to plan. I choose to start with Evil Seed by discarding Loci, and I immediately get met by a draw. My hand is a little bit weird into draw. This deck's biggest fear or weakness definitely has to be draw and Lockbird. I attempt to hit something off Dance Peon so that I could make a cool play, but sadly I miss, and I end up just going Bengal Lancer Pass with Purification set. Now, my opponent has a weird start as well. We end up starting with a Pot of Prosperity, Droplet send Fusion, and then normal Sleepy pop it with Fusion. The half damage is really important here because it gives me a chance to survive, because I have no way to interrupt my opponent. I have Bengal Lancer, which can't activate its effects, or they're negated by droplets. My Purification, I don't control a level 5 or higher reptile. I have Bloom to alter attack points a little bit, but that's it. My opponent goes for Creation King plus Combined Creation, attacks over my Bengal Lancer, and passes turn. I draw, I activate Regeki to try and clear so my opponent can't use Mace. My opponent then goes for Fusion into Twin Dragon, goes for a Twin Dragon into Horn Dragon, and gets a Sleepy into hand. I go Bloom to Reborn Evil Seed, choose not to use the effect, and my opponent fuses with the Sleepy into Creation King and destroys my monster. I then normal summon Sagi, adding Ritual, but more importantly than adding Ritual, it is a reptile on field, so I'm able to Reborn Skeletal Soldier, summon back Beetle, go into Mantis Monk, effect of Beetle, Reborn's Lone Fire from Grave, that can then go into my Plant Engine, it can then go into my Mitsurugi Engine. Here I choose to go into Mitsurugi Engine, I use effect of Lone Fire, tributing itself, summon Incantation Talismandra. I already have Mitsu Ritual in hand, so I have beaten my opponent's grind game, and we go into game number 3. Now sadly, due to my lack of storage, this game also gets cut, which I think is a real shame. But I'll let real life Jess explain a little bit of what happened. And that's 3-0. We won the finals to win 2-1 against Memento. Honestly, I was a bit scared after that game 1, but game 2, we somehow managed to win that grind game, and my phone once again cut out. Game 3, we were a couple of minutes from time, I think about 10 minutes from time. My opponent made an end board, and I was able to break it, and then threaten with Mitsurugi setup, get a Strenna with a Princess Engrave. We did take some photos of the actual game state, so you can see what I was working with, but we took the match, and we got first place. We will go over what deck list I actually played when we're back, but for now, prize packs. This first World Championship pack I've ever opened. I have no idea if this is any good, but I think the stamp's kind of cool. But those were prize packs. Let's head back and we'll go into what I actually played today. Right, now that we're back and we've opened up all our packs, what did I actually play? Now, I'm gonna keep this quite brief, but essentially this deck is an improved and less bricky version of my previous Mitsurugi Plant decks. Honestly, I've been quite successful at locals with this deck, but I haven't taken it to anything higher yet. So to start, we have our 3 Evil Seed, our 1 Beetle, our 1 Bloom, and our 1 Hunting Dance. These are the most important cards in the deck. Summoning back, especially if you do a partial turn 1 combo, summoning back Beetle and then linking into another Ragnaraka and then reborning Lone Fire is the best resource grind game in the deck. 1 Lone Fire, it's an honorary Ragnaraka, and then 3 Lokais, 1 Sowing. We are not playing Sunseed Twin in main, I am siding it to help a little bit with Cactus Bouncer combos for extra bodies, but you don't even need to do that. More consistent, less bricks. And then for the rest, 3 raw, 3 unexpected die. This is just 6 more copies of Loci. Typically you don't use your normal summon in this deck because your only real normal summon is Loci, and you're playing 6 ways to special it. So I do main a Cactus Bouncer. You can search this in your main combo. Fossil Diner is not dead, Fossil Diner is very much alive. You can end on it pretty much every time. And then 1 Talismandra to bridge between Plant and Mitsurugi. For the Mitsus, we are playing full 3 Habakiri, 1 Murakuma, 1 Futsu. Futsu is also quite important, especially into decks like Memento, just breaking boards. Then 1 Night Sword, 1 Kusanagi, 1 Saji, 1 Aramasa. I'm still playing the full Night Sword package, just because making rank 4s helps you bridge from Mitsurugi into Plant. And then 1 Rika Princess as a Plant endboard piece. And then we've got 3 Pre-Prep, 1 Mirror, 2 Mitsurugi Ritual. I found 2 better than having 1. And then 3 copies of Praz. That's it for the Mitsu cards in main. I then have 1 copy of Gravedigger's Trap Hole. You can cut this if you want to be a bit less bricky, but this is basically just there for Rafflesia. Helps consolidate some of your combos, especially if you start with something like Aramasa. It's a nice extra endboard piece to have Rafflesia to protect your combo. And then 3 Fua, 2 Perulias. I have 3 Fua, 2 Perulias. I don't even know if I play the 3rd Perulia, to be honest though. And then 3 Ash to negate my opponent's Charmies. And then I'm on breakers, so 3 Thrust, 3 Dark Ruler, 1 Duster, 1 Talents, 1 Regeki, and 3 Forbidden Droplets, 1 Cold Bite. I prefer breakers over hand traps in the current TCG format, and especially for locals, because I haven't been playing any higher tier events, breakers have been just fine. As for the extra deck, 2 copies of Jasmine, 1 Dryas, 1 Thrasher, 1 Healer. You actually need the Thrasher for the combo. 1 Melius, 1 Skeletal Soldier, 1 Mantis Monk, and 1 Chain Coils. These 3 are your most important grind game pieces, because after you do a turn 1 combo, let's say you just use Skeletal Soldier, next turn, you can Reborn Skeletal Soldier from Grave, re-reborn Beetle, and then go Beetle plus Skeletal Soldier into Mantis Monk, and then you get your summon back of something like a Loci, of a Lone Fire Blossom that can then bridge into your other engines like your Mitsurugi. 1 Dance Peon, it's just for level manipulation. 1 Traptrix Rafflesia, 1 Traptrix Hingicula. You're playing this for a side deck card, and then Bengalancer, Strenna, and Hyperiton. As for our side deck, we are playing 3 copies of Sphere Mode. Again, your only real normal summon is Loci, and normally you're seeing things like Primite Raw or Unexpected Die instead of Loci. 3 copies of Droll, just to limit their boards. 3 copies of Lightning Storm, because it's at 3. Then we've got all of our one-offs. 1 more Cactus Bouncer. I think you could up this to 3. I'd be pretty comfortable upping this to 2 more or 1 more Cactus Bouncer inside, so you have 3 post side. Hard drawing Cactus Bouncer is actually really good, because even if you get hand trapped, it just means that because you don't use a normal summon, you just have this to summon and floodgate them. Then 1 copy of Vesicular, and 1 copy of Purification. This allows you your complete going first bridge from Mitsurugi into Plant. It's fine. Purification is just nice on top of Cactus Bouncer anyway though. Then 1 Twin, you don't need to play this, there should be a second Cactus Bouncer. And then 2 more Trap Holes, just to make Rafflesia even better. That's it for the deck list though. Honestly, there's a couple changes I'd make, but for a local level, it's been performing really well for me.
So that's it for the deck list itself. I know a couple of people haven't been happy that it's Mitsurugi Plant and not just a more pure plant build with things like Konkon, like it's been traditionally. But Plant Pile originally started off as a combo mesh using some meta engines such as Adventure, Punk, Halka Fibrax, Baron. This deck has, to me, always been an evolving combo pile, mashing a ton of different engines in. So I actually think Mitsurugi being the next iteration of the deck, I like it personally. Although it does definitely need a lot of work. In hindsight, I would completely cut all of the Traptrix cards from side, along with the Sunseed Twin, because I just don't think they're necessary, and I never really used them when I sided them in going first.
So we finished the day with a clean 3-0. It was a pretty small tournament today, but we still played against K9, we still played against Memento, and Dracotail, which, aside from Yummy not being present, seems fairly representative of the game at a local level. I'm gonna have a look to see if there are any bigger events that I can take the plant deck to locally, because I really believe it has some potential, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. As I mentioned before, I really enjoy innovating decks, and this just feels like another iteration of Plant that I can mess around with. I've not talked about it a ton, but even before Plant was really a deck back in 2022, 2023, at the start of 2022, I was messing around with the weirdest Plant lists you can imagine. I am talking about 3 copies of Ready Fusion as a Plant extender to make Jasmine, along with so many one-offs, I have forgotten what half of them are called. Plant as a deck, for me, started out as one of those I'm just gonna throw cards together and see what happens decks that slowly evolved over time into what we saw in 2023, 2024, and it's always been a little bit of a passion. So hopefully we will take the deck to maybe an OTS championship, maybe a regionals near to me, and we'll see how it does from there. But that is going to be it for today's video, and if you want to see more Plant content, let me know. That being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.